Welcome to Love Light, the only podcast dedicated to bright, fine art photography. Hosted by Sarah Jane Ethan, Love Light is here to celebrate all things bright, pretty and pastel. At Love Light, white is the new black and beauty is in the detail. This is your place to relax, a place to belong, a place to be inspired and connect with like-minded colleagues who share your passion for light and beauty. So come and introduce yourself in the Love Light Facebook group and subscribe to the Love Light YouTube, podcast and Instagram for your weekly dose of inspiration and connect with bright, fine art photographers from around the world.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Love Light podcast. Today I am a little bit starstruck because we've got Lauren Fair with us, and Lauren Fair has been a personal source of inspiration for me. I absolutely love her work. Her and her husband Tim have been photographing weddings together for 9 years. They've been named one of the 75 best wedding photographers in the world by Brides magazine. They have been voted one of the 100 most influential people in the wedding industry by The Knot, and one of the top 15 destination wedding photographers in the world by Brit Co. So it's a huge honor to have her with us today. She lives on a 40-acre farm outside of Philadelphia with her dog Ollie, and of course they travel all over the world with photographing weddings. So it's so exciting to have you here, Lauren. I'm just so chuffed that you've given us some of your time so that we can hear some of your story.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. It's an honor to, be here with you. And thank you so much for the kind words. And I'm excited to chat with you today a little bit about our journey and, wherever the topics lead us today. I am just excited to be here with you.
Oh, that is so wonderful, Lauren. We're so grateful for you to be here. And, your work speaks for itself, and people in the group will have seen your work. We will have posted it on Instagram and on the Facebook group as well. So we can see just how incredible your photography is. But we kind of want to get to know the person behind the camera. So tell us a little bit about how that journey started for you to even pick up a camera in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think all of us as artists are never satisfied with our work.
Oh,
So it's
so
always
true.
good to hear kind words and encouragement. But so I actually have never done anything besides photography. My journey started, I feel like I'm on The Bachelor. My journey started
I love it.
back in, when I was in college, and I bought my first Canon Rebel, as probably many of us started on that little Canon Rebel. And I just started asking my family and friends if I could shoot them. I have always loved photography, but a turning point for me was when my junior year of college, I went to Italy for the first time, and I was able to photograph just couples on the street and street photography and the beautiful architecture and textures. And for me, that was a really amazing time to just discover, I saw light for the first time. I saw the glow hitting a building. I just saw things in a different way on that trip. And it really transformed my entire life, because I came home, I was still in school, and I just started asking my family and friends if I could photograph them. And I just consumed all the knowledge I could from Creative Live and YouTube videos. And I just started teaching myself. I would do those silly little photo a day projects, back when that was a thing, where you would just document random things in your life and try to learn how to shoot in different lighting environments and inside and outside. And, I'd experiment with macro shots, and I was just learning, and I was just having fun, and there was no pressure. But I felt like I had found something that I was good at. I mean, my photos were very bad, but they did have a little bit of creativity to them that 12 years ago stood out a little bit. They weren't traditional photos. And so even though I had no idea of my style or my look or my signature editing or film, I didn't know any of that yet, but I had a little bit of a creative eye, and that is what I build on from that point forward. So I've never done anything but photography. I actually went to school. I double majored in organizational communications and international business, both of which I use every day. And I never have taken any formal training for photography. I'm all self-taught. But after school, I started my business, and we booked 35 weddings that first year, mostly through a bunch of advertising on places like The Knot and Wedding Wire. I mean, Craigslist, Facebook,
amazing,
everywhere that I could get our name out.
Amazing.
that's what we were doing. So
Scattering seed and see which
yes,
one comes back.
absolutely. I was just hungry. I was so hungry
Yeah.
to get work, to get clients, to get somebody
Wow.
to have me take their photo. And so that was how it all started.
Can you remember how you gave those early clients the confidence to book you when you were just starting out? Because, getting somebody to get in touch from an advert's one thing, but actually persuading them to part with some money, when you've potentially got no experience and no portfolio is quite a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my definitely, I definitely shot my first few weddings for friends. So the first couple weddings I shot were people who I knew. They knew that I was interested in
Right.
photography. I
Yeah.
had volunteered to take their engagement photos, so they really loved them and they were willing to take a risk and
Yeah.
trust me because their budget was very low for
Yeah.
photography and I was very cheap.
Amazing.
And so the first couple weddings were for friends. So I did not book a client that didn't know me until I had personally shot several weddings myself.
Yeah.
So I think that there was a little bit of that trust factor. It's not like a stranger was hiring me for the first wedding that I had ever done. I did have somewhat of a portfolio from the
Yeah.
past couple of years of shooting
Yes.
friends and family, just casually while I was in school. And so,
Yeah.
it wasn't totally random for them, but I was inexpensive. I was willing to work with them, and they saw that I was creative. And so if
Yeah.
someone was willing to take the risk, then I poured everything I had into making them so happy and just challenging myself to, make their wedding photos beautiful as much as I could in these weddings that were not very beautiful at the
Oh,
time.
really? Were they challenging
Oh, no,
conditions?
very much so. I mean, when you are spreading your net that wide as a
Yeah,
person,
that's
and
true.
this is 12 years ago. So this is a long time ago.
Oh,
Instagram was not a thing. I mean, people
wow.
were, really reading bridal magazines for
Yes.
inspiration. We didn't even have Pinterest.
Wow.
So I feel like I started at a time where you just put it all out there and prayed that
Wow.
people responded. And, the first year that I shot weddings, most of them were very low budget,
Yes.
clients who were very sweet, but no money whatsoever. They were not
Yeah.
having luxury weddings.
Yeah.
They wanted some nice photos. And, that year we had 3 or 4 weddings that ended up being really beautiful, where the clients were investing a little bit more money, towards the second half of that year. And we got 1 or 2 of them published in Style Me Pretty and started kind of working, working through some of those, um, publications. And, you know, there's this point where you can show a client that you can handle a little bit more responsibility than like maybe
Yes.
just a uber simple backyard wedding, just standing there holding
Yes.
vows. So that started to happen, fairly quickly
Yeah.
because I think the wedding industry was also booming at that time and all the wedding
Yeah.
blogs were really becoming popular. Style Me Pretty, green wedding shoes was a big one. All of that was kind of going on 10 years ago as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just
That's
kind of happened fairly quickly.
Yeah, and it's a good point actually. You were saying about they weren't ideal weddings, and it's just made me think. Actually, that is a good encouragement for somebody starting out in business because I think obviously a big focus when encouraging people building a photography business is to say only accept your ideal client, and that is good advice, and I give that advice to people myself. But there is an element that when you're just starting out, you do also need experience. So there is a balance
Yep.
between you can't just go, I think the temptation is to look at incredible weddings and just go, well, I want weddings like that. And then to turn down very good work that's money in the bank. And I think there's a difference between a client who's difficult to work with and a client
Yes.
maybe not ideal styling, but they're still nice people. They're nice to work with. It's a good gig. Do you know, like and at the end of the day, it's money in the bank. It gives you the experience. It might give you some portfolio, or at least a few pictures from the wedding. You might not be able to showcase the whole wedding, but maybe 1 or 2, and you've got money in the bank, and you can progress from there. So that be your advice as well. Just kind of do what you need to do to get started.
Absolutely. I like to say that I'm a businesswoman who happened to find a creative career. I very much encourage people. This is not a career in which you can have an ego and be successful at it. because you have to be willing to humble yourself and to work hard and to put sweat equity into building this business. And I had zero ego. I still don't think my work is good. I'm so willing to work hard. And I think that scrappiness is something that will serve you really well. And I think that 10 years later, it is a different industry than it was when I was starting. And I think there is a temptation or this feeling that you can skip steps.
Yeah, interesting.
And that you're just going to be shooting these $500,000 weddings with celebrity clients in the south of France, in chateaus, in like your second year of business. And the truth is that it takes a lot of hard work to get to the point where you can handle responsibility like that. And all of those smaller weddings, those backyard weddings, those weddings in dark orange barns, those weddings in which you are just learning and honing your craft and learning how to make difficult clients happy and learning how to handle a month's rain on a wedding day. All of those experience come together to the point where you can book a $30,000, a $40,000 wedding booking and be able to have someone trust you with that kind of money because your work speaks for itself. But that comes through time and hard work. And if anyone is listening and thinking to myself, I want to book a wedding like that. I want that for you too. I want you to have all the success in the world. I think the main thing to remember is that you have to put the work in. There is no scenario in which you can skip steps.
Interesting.
And be able to handle that type of responsibility and have planners, really, because all of our bookings come through planners. A planner is not going to trust you with that kind of money, with that kind of recommendation, unless you have put the work in and proven that you can handle anything. So don't skip over and don't rush those years in which you are learning and growing. And I would just encourage you, treat those clients like they are celebrity clients. Treat them as if they're the most important people in the world to you, because they will talk you up and no one knows who you are yet. So you need that reputation. You need to have people talking about you.
Absolutely. And I've had ideal client bookings come as a recommendation from non-ideal client bookings, that it wasn't a portfolio piece. I wasn't going to put it on my website, but their friend then booked me and it was incredible. It was like, one of the weddings I'm searching for, and trying to find, and they just found me. Exactly like you said, because I treated my clients well. And I loved what you said earlier about, not having an ego and being humble. And I think, one of my attitudes with my business is that I am there to provide a service, which means I'm serving my clients and I will do whatever I can to make them happy and to give them what they're needing. And I think, there can be a lot of egos and divas in the photography world, no, I don't do that. And no, that's not how I work. And no, I don't want to work with those people. And like you said, if you're going in with the humble attitude of, I have a service and I would like to serve you with it, you can make a lot of people very happy. And that will do so much for your business, more than running an Instagram, a good Instagram, or, all of this stuff, just having a good reputation as being a compassionate and responsible person to hire. So that's such good advice.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's perfectly said.
So you mentioned about weddings for 30 or £40,000 or dollars. Is that how much they're paying you, or is that the total wedding? Because I understand that you photograph some quite enviable clients now, and you often now have the weddings that other photographers are look at going, I'd love to photograph that. So talk to us about your current clientele and how that works in your business.
I would say probably our average total wedding cost is, anywhere from 250,000 to $500,000.
Wow.
Total wedding budget.
Wow. Amazing.
But it just depends. I mean, I think that there are people who value good photography who are having a $50,000 wedding who are going to invest half of that in you if they love you enough. But those have become a little bit fewer and far between. The longer we've been in business, just simply because there's a lot of good photographers out there.
True.
And they have a lot of choices. So I'm always so honored when anyone chooses us. I mean, especially for a destination wedding, they could pick anyone in the world. So it's such an honor, when anyone chooses us. But, most of our clients do come directly through wedding planners. we still have a couple every year who are direct bride bookings,
Right.
which is wonderful as well. But I would
Yeah.
say probably 80% of our weddings are through wedding planners.
Interesting.
They'll set up the introduction to the couple,
Yes.
but some don't even speak to the couple until
Wow.
a week before the wedding, when I like to have a call with our clients as much as we can. But these clients
Yeah.
are really putting their trust in their planner to
Mm-hmm.
pull together the ideal vendor team for them. And
Yes.
so that's a shift that happened maybe 3 years ago, I would say, in our business,
Interesting.
where the scale tipped very much towards
Interesting.
bookings coming through wedding planners, because I think
Yeah.
as your pricing goes up, you know, the referral source has to kind of change with that.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, so that's an interesting transition. But yeah, it just depends. I mean, last year we made the decision to cut the amount of weddings that we were taking. I used to personally shoot like 45 weddings a year,
Yeah.
up until 2019. That's
Wow.
how many I shot.
Wow.
And 2020 was my first year that I limited myself. I had 22 weddings, and now who knows how many I'll have, you know.
Well, yeah, with everything that's happening.
Yes, exactly. And if you're listening to this, it's probably, hopefully we're past, you know.
No, who knows where we'll be? Who knows?
Exactly.
One question I want to ask you then, because I
Yeah.
personally don't take a lot of bookings through wedding planners because I get nervous because I can't speak to the couple. So I'd love to
Sure.
know what that experience is like for you, that you're actually sometimes not even speaking to the couple until a week before the wedding. Do you find that sometimes that means that you have been paired with a couple that you're like, oh, there's just no chemistry here, like I'm not getting the best out of you, you're not getting the best out of me, or because your wedding planner knows how you work, that they've found you the right clients, you know, or talk us through how that works.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the planners at that level are really getting to know their clients at an intimate level. They present 3 to 4 options to the client, and the client looks through all the work and decides who they love the most. And then we set up the call from that point. You know, if they're not interested and just want to trust the planner, then that's fine too. But for us, I mean, I can do my job well, even if a client doesn't want to be my best friend. And that is also a shift that happened maybe 4 or 5 years in. I think that I used to approach it, you know, every client has to be my best friend. And I don't feel that way anymore, because I actually like particular brides because I feel like I can make them happy. I know that I can, as long as I, you know, have that information from the planner or from the couple in advance. I actually don't mind working with, you know, couples in which everything is kind of funneled through the planner and they are really communicating with us what the couple's like. I set up a call with them, so I do get to know them. And then 90% of our couples are doing an engagement session too. So that gets well, because we do get to meet them and shoot them, and they get to know us at that point too. But I find that the trust level is higher than it even used to be. In the sense of the couple has seen so much of our work. There's so many thousands of images out there that they're feeling confident and ready to trust us. So they are almost determined to like us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Whereas I think, you know, if there isn't that, you know, personal referral of the planner and the venue and the florist are all saying, hire this person, we love working with them. You know, then maybe it's just a little bit more like you have to prove yourself or sell yourself. And I think that you have to sell yourself slightly less when a planner is going to bat for you. But yeah, I don't think that there's ever been a scenario, maybe once, where I've showed up and it hasn't been like a really good fit, but at the same point, it is a paycheck, and not every client is going to be the dreamiest, most sweet, you know, person on the planet, and that's okay sometimes too. And I think, you know, for me, I can do my job well, and I can create images that are beautiful in any environment, even if the couple is difficult. So, and again, that's the experience thing. You know, I've shot probably 1,000 weddings almost, just because I used to shoot like 65 weddings a year.
Wow.
So I've shot a lot of weddings, maybe not 1,000, but it feels like 1,000. I've shot a lot of weddings. So, you know, I think that, you know, not skipping over those stages of being willing to work with difficult clients who aren't sure about you, and you really have to prove yourself.
Interesting.
Has developed into this sense of confidence where I know that, you know, as long as the couple isn't like physically fighting, I can make them look like they are in love.
Wow, amazing. And it sounds like it's crucially important then that your planner knows you. You've got a good
Mhm.
relationship with your planner. So your planner
Yes.
knows who you are, how you work,
Yes.
and what kind of clients you're gonna get the best out of, and they're gonna get the best out of you. So talk to us about how
Definitely.
you've gone about building relationships with the planners, because that can sometimes be a big challenge because planners have already
Yeah.
got their photographers that they like to recommend. So how did you've obviously got a variety of wedding planners that you work
Mhm.
with and you've got a really good relationship with and work with so often that the other suppliers are now recognize you and excited to work with you too. So talk to us about how that journey happened. You said a few years ago that was the shift.
Yeah.
Like what actually happened at that point?
So I think the first year that I started working with planners a lot was just luck. We
Mm.
just were booking slightly more expensive weddings, and so they just had a planner. So it wasn't like the planner hired us. It was more like the planner would reach out a month before the wedding and be like, "Hi, I am working this wedding with you."
Yes.
And so I think that was maybe like 2014 was a year in which we were like, "Oh, a lot of our couples have planners. This is a new thing." Um, for us at that point,
Yeah.
because maybe 3-4 years in, we noticed that shift happening a lot where a lot of our clients were still hiring us directly,
Mm.
but the planners were there. So that was
Yes.
like a transition point there. So we started meeting a lot of planners and
Mm-hmm.
kind of just recognizing how wonderful they are and how easy they make your
Yeah.
life because they care to,
Yeah.
make the wedding amazing. And we just started reaching out to a lot of planners who we enjoyed their
Mm.
work. And, you know, if you are listening to this and wanting to network with planners, the best thing I can say to you is to not email them and say, "Can I take you out for coffee? Can I have
Right.
lunch with you?" Because they don't need you.
Yeah.
You need them. And
Yes.
so offering something of value is the best way that you can build a relationship. So offer to shoot a new branding shoot for them if they
Mm-hmm.
are, want to do a new website or
That's great.
have a venue that they want to shoot at, and they need a photographer to come on and do it
Mm-hmm.
for free. I mean, that is the type of marketing investment that is so worth your while.
Amazing.
And most planners don't want you to send them a candle or a gift. They want something tangible like new headshots,
So
or
good. So good.
offer to shoot their holiday cards,
Yeah.
or just offer to come shoot a rehearsal dinner
Mm-hmm.
for something that maybe the couple didn't spring for hiring a
Yeah.
photographer, but they are going to invest and make it really cute because they're looking to up level.
Yes.
I also would recommend too, I did not aim for the top planners in the world
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago when I was trying to network. I was
Wow.
finding people who were kind of at a similar point that I was, as far as they were increasing the value of
Mm-hmm.
their bookings. They were kind of up leveling at the same time or slightly beyond where
Yeah.
we were. And I think that can serve you really well too,
Mm.
because you're totally right. I mean, the top 5 planners in the world, they have their people. They have
Yeah.
lists. They've been in business 30 years. They have their lists. And
Yeah.
occasionally, sure, if that relationship were to come about, of course they would be interested in, having you prove yourself, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak. But I think that that's a really important thing to recognize, is that
Mm.
there are local planners, or, planners in the biggest city closest to you who would love to work with you and maybe don't have that solid of relationships
Mm.
yet. So find people who aren't necessarily like, don't aim straight for the Harper's Bazaar
Yeah.
best list. Like,
Yeah.
that can come,
Yes.
but find people, who you enjoy working with, who you can
Mm-hmm.
partner together and kind of grow, because that served us really well, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's, a couple of things about
I love
me.
that. That's such good advice as well. And it makes it very normal because you're just making friends.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like
exactly.
marketing, like you're having to create all this Instagram feed, whatever. You're just making friends with people in the industry.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, just offering them value, that
Yes.
actually they don't need you need them. So you've got to
Mhm.
offer them something that makes it worth their while to spend time with you.
Exactly. And the thing that we can offer is something that everyone needs, which
Mm,
is beautiful new photos to market
so
their business
true.
with. So,
So
yeah.
true. I think sometimes we forget what a valuable commodity we actually have at our fingertips that we can use
Mhm.
when networking to offer to
Oh,
people.
yeah.
That is so good.
Absolutely.
That is so good. So something you mentioned right at the very start, because you said when you were first taking pictures with your camera, and you said, you know, most of them weren't very good, but I think I had a bit of a creative eye, and that is a fascinating statement to me, because you are somebody that I consider to have an incredible creative eye, and that's
Oh,
not something
thank
that
you.
you learn; it's something you have and you develop, and so that was obviously in you. First of all, I think that's a huge encouragement for people when they're starting out. And you know, like you said, as creative people, we can be our own worst critics, and we're never happy with what we're creating, and we look at someone else's
Never.
work and go, well, their work's better than mine, therefore I must be terrible. And just to know that, you know, even somebody like yourself who's really risen up through the ranks in the photography world and is now shooting enviable clients and doing workshops and teaching people, that even you said you only felt like you had a modest talent at the start, possibly had a bit of a creative eye, and that's
Yeah.
encouraging for anyone listening to the podcast who thinks, I don't know if I'm good enough, I don't know if I've got what it takes. Actually, if you keep going at it, like you said, just that scrappiness, I like you said, scrappy, you know,
Yeah.
just keep working at it, keep going at it. Actually, that little seed of creativity can actually grow into something that's incredibly beautiful, profitable, and
Yeah.
desirable.
Absolutely. Yeah, we all feel that way. I mean,
Mm.
I still don't feel like I've made it. There's no
Wow.
level at which I have felt as though I'm done learning, I'm
Wow.
done trying.
Yeah.
I still don't feel like I've made it. There's still
Amazing.
new heights that I would like to reach, and
Yes.
I think just being willing to put the hours in of
Mm.
just shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting,
Wow.
and figuring out your style,
Mhm.
and then staying with your style so that it becomes
Yes.
recognizable. That is when things will change for you, because if someone
Mm.
can recognize your work,
Yes.
that is a point in which you will start to have clients willing to fly
Mhm.
you somewhere because they see something different in your
Mhm.
work. And
Yes.
all I've done, truly, I am not more talented or better at photography than you are.
Mhm.
Whoever is listening, I promise you
Wow.
that
I
I
love
am
that.
not. But all I've done is just work really, really, really hard, and just not have been willing to give up, even when it was hard
Wow.
and I wasn't shooting weddings where I wanted to be. I felt like I could get there, but it was
Yeah.
just a lot of hard work, and
I love that.
pushing through that, and not being willing to settle, and
Mm.
not being content with where you are. And I think that that
Yes.
is something that can serve you well, is you
Yeah.
know keep pushing, keep striving to be better,
Yeah.
challenge yourself at every wedding you shoot 5 images that you're really, really, really proud of, and just mark
Wow.
it with those 5. You don't have to share
Yeah.
the full wedding, you don't have to
So
share the
true.
full shoot, but just 5 images, and that can fill your portfolio very, very quickly,
Mm.
actually,
Oh
if you
yeah.
really
Yeah.
have that attitude. But that's so
That is
sweet. Thank you for saying that.
totally. Yeah. And I totally agree. I used to say to myself in those early days, look, I'm looking at other people who've made it. That must mean that it's possible. If they can make it, so can I. You know, and I've just got to just
Yeah,
keep going at it. So that's such encouraging.
absolutely.
And I love that you said that a big part of that success is honing your style and your look
Yeah.
so that your pictures
Mhm.
are recognizable. And your pictures definitely are recognizable to me. They've got
Thank
that
you.
lovely color palette to them that I absolutely love. You know, I think we're kindred spirits when it comes to color palettes. You know, we both love
Yeah.
the very soft, muted tones and pastel colors, and I love that about your work. And so, but I found personally that is a huge journey of self-confidence to know, no, I like this and I'm going to do it, and to not compare yourself to somebody else and try and emulate them and try and become them, but actually to just carve your own creative path and your niche in the market, which is your creativity and what you love. And that you
Yeah.
are somebody that I consider to have done that. You are very, you're clearly very strong in what you like and what you don't like, and that's the way it is. This is what you do, and you love it and you enjoy it. And I think that is a big part of what makes your work stand out. So tell us about, have you been on, is it been an up and down journey for you of questioning your instincts and your taste, or have you just always been like, nope, that's me, I like this, take it or leave it?
I think some of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
I definitely am a person who is not afraid to say what I love
Love
and
it.
what I don't love, and what I
So
would want
good.
to shoot more of and what I don't want to shoot. But
Yeah.
I didn't know my own style when I was just starting out. I mean, you
Mm.
don't know until you shoot it.
Yeah.
So I planned dozens editorial shoots, in the
Yeah.
color palette I wanted to shoot, in the type of clientele, in the type of venues I wanted to work in. You know, I have 3 keywords that I build the frame around as far as what I will share on Instagram, or what defines our brand. And if you have never done that exercise, I make all of our workshop attendees do it.
Okay, yeah.
Of figuring out 3 words that define your brand, because it
Right.
really gives you a framework
Yeah.
in which to be creative, but also have a signature look.
Yes.
So for me, you know, my images are iconic,
Mhm.
joy-filled, exquisite. And
Lovely.
those 3 words, you know, if something does not fit into at least 2 or 3, you know, 2
Yeah.
out of 3 of those, then I won't share that photo
Yes.
on Instagram. And that has helped me, you know, because they're broad enough that
Mhm.
I can share a ton of different varieties of weddings and styles
Yeah.
and travel photos, but it's specific enough that it makes your work recognizable. So that is
Yes.
one that, you know, if you have not sat down, and I'm not talking words like romantic or pretty, you
Yeah.
know, go on synonym.com, type in words like romantic or pretty, and
Yes.
find specific synonyms that can
Nice.
really apply to your work, because
Yeah.
everybody, wedding photographer, I mean,
Yes.
couple in love. So, you
Yeah.
know, figuring out specifics that can make your work stand apart. So I'll dive into mine a little bit. So iconic.
Yeah.
I tend to share on Instagram a lot of images that are kind of the hero shot, the big shot, the shot with the full arch of flowers, and you
Yeah.
know, things that are very, you know, you see them and they feel like they are the epitome of that type of thing. So for me, if I'm sharing an image or creating an image, I have that phrase in my mind. So, you know, when you think of the word iconic, it means something, you know, kind of the epitome of that era or that location or that, you know,
Yes.
style. So I want to share images that are the epitome of that thing.
Nice. Yeah.
So if something is going to be, you know, a wedding in Italy, I'm not going to shoot it in a way that looks different. I'm going to shoot it in a way that looks like the epitome of Italy.
Wow.
So that is why I chose the word iconic as opposed to something like classic.
Yeah.
To me,
Makes
it
so
just,
much sense.
yeah, that's just like
Because actually,
the
now you've
way
explained it, classic doesn't cut it. Like it's not.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because that could mean almost boring. Like
Yeah.
when you're
That's so
comparing to, you
true.
know,
Yeah.
and so really diving into each of these words and making sure that it's something specific enough that it really, you know, defines your brand has been really, really good for me, because it allows me to create within a framework that, you know, feels really specific, and it feels really, really good and really true to what I love. You know, and a lot of people have different things. So like a lot of people want to shoot like connection, you know, like a hand or a hand, or like an eyeball, like right there. And that's really cool too. Like you can find these words and then create your own style within them. So my second word, joy filled. So, you know, I want my images to be fine art, but also filled with joy
I
and
love
filled with
it.
emotion. And so for me, you know, I want something to not just be joyful necessarily, because I can have a serious image, but I want
Yes.
like a quiet strength and a quiet kind of peacefulness to be behind your
Yeah.
eyes, even if it is serious.
Wonderful.
You know, and just have that joy kind of resonating through the camera. So whether that's, you know, a shot of people toasting, or a shot of, you know, a grandma kissing their granddaughter on the wedding day, or things like that, you know, I want it to have that feeling of not happiness always, but just like a deep-seated joy. And so
Yes.
that is another word for me that
I love
is
it.
specific enough, but also broad enough that, you know, it doesn't mean happy. It doesn't mean like over the top smiles all the time. It just means a quiet, natural joy and presence that you can feel.
I love
And
that.
then, yeah. And so I hope that helps, you know,
That
just
is
talk
so
through.
helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And you've described it so well about how you're not just picking words that you think is going to sell your photography, or that you
Yeah,
think
exactly.
people are searching on Google. You're
Yeah.
picking words that actually, what you've described, it informs your photography. It informs the way you photograph. You've got those words in your head going, this is what I love. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm creating. That is so well explained. That's so helpful. That's really
Well,
good.
I'm glad. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think, back to your earlier question when you were asking, have you ever showed up to a wedding and, the couple was just not a good fit, or,
Mm,
you felt like they weren't in love. And truly, yes, that has happened. But I'm not really worried about it because I
mm.
know the way I approach things, and I know that I can create images that they will be happy with
Yes.
because I'm so specific with the way I shoot
Yes.
after this many
Yeah,
years.
that makes sense.
It's not a formula necessarily.
Mm.
It's just a little bit of mental clarity of what I'm looking for. I don't
Yes.
necessarily let the day dictate how I shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I let my signature look
Yes.
at this point dictate how I shoot and
Nice.
how I post with them. So it helps, and it takes pressure mentally off of
Mm.
how you approach a wedding day, because
Yeah.
you know yourself, and you know what you
Yes.
look for, and you know how to pose and direct. And so I
Yes.
think it makes the day easier as a wedding photographer.
Totally. Yes, I think I
Yeah.
found that myself as well, that I photograph less now than I did, but I take
Yeah.
more better pictures because I know what I'm looking for, and I feel like I can relax and just go, no, I know roughly what's going to happen. I can tell if something is
Yes.
about to happen that I'm going to want a picture of, and actually
Yeah.
it means I can relax a lot more and enjoy the day. But there's one
Yeah.
more thing I wanted to ask you about, because I don't think we've had anybody discuss this yet on the podcast, which is about having associate photographers
Yes.
working for you. So talk us through what that looks like in your business, how you got through with that, and how you would recommend people if they were interested in creating their own associate photography program.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have had associate photographers since 2012. So 8
Wow.
years
Wow.
of having a team as part of our business. So we
Yes.
did 95 weddings last year with
Wow.
everybody.
Wow.
And honestly, it's a huge part of our business. Our team is amazing. Their work has been published in Martha Stewart and Style Me Pretty. I mean, we seek wonderful people to work with us,
Wow.
and I think that we pay the highest I've ever heard.
Right.
And I
Nice.
think that has created a little bit of loyalty with our team, in which,
Yeah.
they know that they're going to make a really good amount of money, and that we're going to send them beautiful weddings that they will
Wow.
enjoy shooting.
Yeah.
We're willing to pay more so that they are the best people
Yeah.
to be on our
Wow.
team. Almost all of our associates also shoot film,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't shoot as much film as we do on a wedding day, but
Mm.
they'll shoot 7 rolls on a wedding day, which still gives a good semblance of kind of that hybrid feel
Mm-hmm.
to the work. So we find people who, sometimes we find them because they've emailed us and asked, do you have any openings? Sometimes they've been people who have second shot or third shot that we just felt like would be a really good fit. But we have associates in New York, Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey.
Wow.
So we have associates in kind of different regions, and then we try to send inquiries for those regions to the associate who lives nearby, which is really nice too, because then our couples have less travel fees.
Yes.
And they're kind of working with a local,
Mm-hmm.
which is really nice. Not that any of those places are super far
Yeah.
from where we live, but it's still 3-4 hours here and there. So
Yeah.
it's nice for them to have less travel fees. But yeah, what would you like to know specifically about?
Well, one question that comes to my mind is, how does it work with photographs? Do you take on the processing work? Does your associate do the processing work? Do they have the images then for their portfolio, or do they just hand the images over to you and it's your portfolio? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a mix of all of that. So
Okay.
we allow them to use 5 images from each wedding or shoot in their own blogs and websites, which again, the 5-image thing really adds up fairly quickly, because if they have 10 weddings for us in a year, then that's 50 images that they have. That's a full wedding gallery on a website after just 1 year. So we feel like that's a pretty good compromise as far as they're still able to share the work, but we keep the brand continuity the same. I have a separate Instagram page, Lauren Fair Associates, where we share all of our associate weddings, because our clients, I think it's fun for them to see their wedding photos on Instagram, but I didn't shoot it, so I don't necessarily want it on my Lauren Fair page because it's not my photo. So we have a separate Instagram page. We blog their weddings, on our blog as well. And, the associate is allowed to have those 5 images for their own blog and their own website. They're not allowed to share any on social media whatsoever, because we do have a social media page specifically, Lauren Fair Associates.
Yes.
We want to keep it super cohesive. So what happens is they shoot the wedding. they cull it,
Mhm.
and then they send us the culled images, and it's a fairly loose cull.
Yeah.
So we'll do, our editing team here in the studio will
Mhm.
do one more quick look through, remove any exact duplicates, and then our editing team here takes care of the editing. So we have one full-time employee who works in the studio with us. They do albums and editing. And then we also have one offsite editor who we
Mhm.
send virtual catalogs to, and then
Yeah.
she'll send them back. So we've been working with our team for years, and they are wonderful as far as the processing and everything goes. So they will either Dropbox us the images after the wedding is
Mhm.
done, or send them via a thumb drive.
Yes.
We take care of all the processing, the delivery, album design. We take care of everything with the client, same as we do for our own
Yes.
client. I personally don't edit any of our weddings, but I do personally approve each of the edited catalogs. So like
Right.
I won't spend 2 full days editing. Our team does that, and then I
Yes.
go through and personally approve it for like an hour or two.
Right.
So it's
I
still,
see.
yes, so I still have my hands in it, but otherwise I would never be able to keep up with that much editing myself.
No.
So we have a process built in, and we have 8 associates.
Amazing. So having your editing team, has that just freed you up to do what you love doing, and so that you're not, like you said, spending 2 days doing something that you would prefer to be doing something else? Is that why you've built
Yeah,
a team around you to free your time up, really?
absolutely. And I personally shoot so much film. I mean, at least 800 images of a wedding are going to
Wow.
be on film
Yeah.
for our clients. So for that, I mean, it's not like I don't trust them
Yeah.
to have our look, because it's filmed. It's
Yeah.
it's how I shot it is how it looks.
Yeah.
So it's really just the straightening,
Yes.
cropping, tweaks or brightening as needed for that. But yeah, we've trained them so thoroughly, and our editors are both absolutely incredible, and they know our style. They have our presets. They edit exactly
Yeah.
to our specifications, and then I'm going through again and making sure that it is something that I am very proud to put my name on
Yeah.
as our company. And so everything is getting like 3 people touching it, which is
Yes.
good, because you have a lot of eyeballs on it, and that
Yeah.
keeps it consistent. It keeps it within our brand. And then our
Yes.
associates also, they all shoot Fujifilm. It
Right.
all gets processed by Photovision, which is our film lab, to our specifications that they have
Mhm.
for us. So all the film gets processed the same as well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cohesive.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
think it can be, an appealing option for some people listening. I'm asking the question for somebody who's creating an associate photographer program, but there
Yes.
may be people listening that sounds like the dream gig, to be an associate
Yeah,
photographer. You haven't got to do find the weddings, you've just got to shoot, and interact with
exactly.
people. So somebody who may be listening that thinks, oh, I would love that. I'd love to be an associate photographer, especially for Lauren Fair. What is it that you look for in an associate photographer? What things do they need to do to put themselves in a position to be able to be an associate photographer?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always looking for amazing people to join our team. Um, I think if you're approaching someone who runs an associate photography team, send them a really detailed email and send them a couple full wedding galleries. Send them your website, your Instagram, your experience, what sets you apart. Sell yourself,
Yeah,
and say this is why I would be a great shooter and a great asset to
love
your
it.
team. And sometimes I'll look at work and it's just not the right fit. The level of
Mm.
quality is not quite there yet. And that's okay. But sometimes I will look at it and I will think, wow, this person is so good. How do you not
Yeah.
how do you not have a fully booked calendar? I would love to have you on our team.
Wow.
So sometimes people are just not as, they don't pursue the business side of
Mhm.
photography as much. It doesn't come as naturally to them, but their
Yeah.
eye is so good. And
Yeah.
that is like the ideal person to join an associate
Wow.
photography team, because if you just hate the marketing, you're not someone who loves that and wants to post on
Yeah.
Instagram every day and wants to network, but you just love the shooting, you love the clients, you love
Yeah.
being able to shoot beautiful things, then that is the type of person that we would love to
Yeah.
work with. So I think, yeah, just sell
I love
yourself.
that.
Well, I also love when people, and this is good advice for anyone who's looking to network with anyone, as
Hmm.
far as wedding planners or venues or things like that, but comment on your Instagram,
Hmm.
become a familiar name so that when you do
Hmm.
it's not like a total stranger.
Yeah.
That name recognition is
Yes.
kind of coming out, where
Yes.
you're like, oh, I think that person leaves encouraging comments on Instagram. I feel like I know
Yeah.
them, or they've responded to my story a few times. And
Yes.
it's building that level of trust too. So
Oh, totally. I think I've noticed that myself. I have people commenting on my Instagram, but I don't necessarily remember their name. But there's one girl that I remember very clearly because she started messaging in response to my stories. And so that was a direct message into my inbox. And she was just so sweet and so encouraging. And her name stuck in my head above anyone else who's ever contacted me. So, yeah, it definitely works.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, of course. But running an associate team, it's not without its challenges. It's been challenging rescheduling all the volume of weddings we had with this year in particular. So this has definitely been, an interesting year as far as that goes. But like I said, we pay our team well. We pay them a retainer, same as, if it was their own wedding, we pay them a retainer right away upon booking so that they have guaranteed money for that date. So we have a lot of things in place to make them feel secure and to make them feel like it's worthwhile for them to be a part of it. All of our photographers run their own businesses too. So we do not require exclusivity. They are free to run their own businesses, and we just want them to give us, 5 to 10 dates that they can shoot.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. And you mentioned about, it's a good option for people who just don't want to pursue the hard, gritty business side of, the slog of it. Just do the work that they love. So obviously you mentioned it was your degree was in international business. Was that what you
and
said?
Organizational communications.
Amazing. Do you feel that has actually helped you? Because exponentially your growth has actually been very, very steep. Your curve from the start of your business to where you are now has actually gone very quick. Do you think that actually that training that you had in international business has contributed, and what do you think you learned from that official education that you had that has then actually influenced the way you run your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't remember that much from school, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think that I was just raised in a certain way in which
interesting.
made sense to me. I've grown up traveling. So I think my father is a very high-powered attorney, very much go-getter. I thought that I might want to be a lawyer at some point, but that would have been terrible. I'm so glad that I never pursued that. But, we were very much trained from a young age to work really hard. I mean, I was very fortunate to be raised in a, fairly affluent family, and I was encouraged to, pursue things that I was good at. And I do not take that for granted ever. But at the same time, like my first car was a total junker, and I had to get a job at 14. So I think I was just raised with a very hard work ethic, even though I was so fortunate to be in
that makes sense.
A family that, was able to pay for my college and things like that. I think more of my mindset has helped me.
Yes, that makes sense.
Other than necessarily like training in an official. Of course, I learned things about business in school, but I really think it's more of how you're raised.
Interesting.
Because I think I just kind of had that entrepreneurial streak. And I don't think that was from school. I think that was, I think that was just kind of
it was in you. It was in you.
Yeah, it was in me. And we also traveled a lot when I was young. My parents, took us lots of places. And so I have had an obsession with travel. I mean, to the point where I feel like I need it to like survive. Like just being in creative new environments. It's something that feels like a necessary part of who I am. So I think I always knew that whatever I did, I wanted it to involve traveling, seeing the world, being in new environments. It's just such a deep-seated passion of mine, and it's hard to explain, and it sounds trite if maybe you don't feel that way about the world, and you're more of a homebody, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. My husband is more that way.
Is he?
Yeah, like he likes traveling because I love it.
Yeah.
But I think he could, he's also happy, not traveling as much as
it's quite the same with me and my husband, actually. He was quite happy at home, and I'm the one going, let's go somewhere new.
Exactly. It just is this like deep-seated passion for me. So it was very targeted early on in my business that I knew I wanted to be a destination photographer, but I wanted it to be profitable. I did not want it to be, something in which I was just giving away my work just for the chance to go to Italy. Because otherwise I would just shoot 2 weddings at home at full price and take myself to Italy on a vacation. So there's no point in my
Yes.
mind, to discounting yourself,
Yeah.
to go work.
It's so true.
So yeah, and just for the prestige or whatever of
Yeah.
saying, oh, I shot a wedding in Italy, I'm not interested in that.
That was totally my attitude. It's been my attitude all along. I've never done discounts for any weddings, even destination ones, exactly like you, because I was just like, well, I'll just do the work for the clients who are happy to pay and take myself wherever I want to go. I'm not restricted to go where that wedding is. I go wherever I want. I've got the money.
Exactly.
And in that sense, I will be a world traveling photographer because my photographer is enabling me to travel the world.
Exactly.
And I think actually from that position of strength, I booked more destination weddings than I ever thought I would or could. I think because I wasn't
people
desperate for the
respect
work.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You have to have respect, and you have to, especially if you want to be a luxury photographer,
Yeah.
you have to have respect. And you can't be someone who's constantly saying, "Oh, I know my price is said 10,000, but I'll do it for,"
Yeah.
And I think it's okay every now and then if you need to finagle some numbers, or you have, you know, maybe they can afford your packages but not your flight, like it's just
Yes.
pushing it $2,000 over, and but you have points maybe that you can use. I'm not saying that there's never a scenario in which it will make sense for you to work some numbers here and there, but overall I'm more talking about people who do it for free.
Yeah.
Who will just say, oh, I'll shoot it for free, and you see it all the time in Facebook referral groups and things like that. So
and I've had friends that have done that, and then they've got to the wedding and it's not really an ideal wedding and they haven't been able to use it in their portfolio and they're left out of pocket. So
exactly, they're paying money to shoot a wedding just because it's in a different environment, and that is not smart marketing. It's not a smart investment into your business. So so yeah, we want it to be sustainable because it is, I would say, triple the amount of work to shoot a destination wedding as opposed to a wedding.
Totally. I love that. That's been so helpful. And I think one of the things that I've taken away most from this conversation, because we talked about it at the very start of your business, having to just do what you have to do to get started. But then even when you're actually transitioning into a luxury market, you still have to just work with what you've got, and you said you still don't feel like you're at the top, you're still going. And I think, we're both Christians and our faith is very important to us. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, don't despise the day of small beginnings. And I think that's what I really take away from your story, that you're in a position that a lot of people would aspire to, but they are in their day of small beginnings, and you've had your day of small beginnings and you didn't despise it, and you just embraced it for what it was, and you loved it for what it was, you enjoyed it, and you worked hard to see where it could take you. And so that's an encouragement for anyone who feels like they're not where they want to be in their business yet. This is your day of small beginnings. Enjoy it, embrace it for what it is, and enjoy the journey.
Yes, absolutely, because it goes fast, and if you work hard, stay humble, you will look back in 5 years and you'll realize how far you've come. And
Amazing.
treating others well and treating them with respect, and with joy, and being a light, and being someone who people want to be around on a wedding day, that will transform your business faster than any workshop, any any perfect Instagram strategy. That will be the thing that will propel your business forward and end up in referrals, and end up, with working with clients who really love you and appreciate you. And I think that's all we can really ask for, is to be
totally,
to be appreciated and valued for what we do. So
I'm a lot less interested in the style of the wedding as I am the people nowadays. I'm not interested in impressing anyone. I just want to enjoy my work and enjoy the people that I work with. And that's most important.
Absolutely. 100%. I could not agree more.
Yeah. Well, talking of workshops, can you tell us a little bit about the workshops that you run and how people can learn from you?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you've never experienced a workshop or two, it is really good to go and learn from someone, and kind of hear their secret sauce of what they do, because I think no matter how long we've been in business, we can learn from each other. I learn from my friends and colleagues every day. And I think that free flow and sharing of information can make us feel less lonely. And so I think that, even education aside, just for the community aspect of being able to network and to spend time soaking in knowledge and sharing ideas and being in a beautiful environment, it can really be a transformative thing. And so I think, you should really do your research on what type of workshop you want to go to. If you want just a portfolio builder, don't come to my workshops, because they are very business intensive, but they're also very, very beautiful. So if you're only looking for a styled shoot, mine's not quite just that. You will also have beautiful, beautiful shoots. But, I really spend so much time diving into the business aspect of it because that's just who I am. I love the business side of it. The business, the film, art, all of those. I love, love, love sharing, with people about that. And so, we have a couple that are happening this year. We keep our workshops small, so we feel pretty good about still having them in the summer and fall. But I also this is the first year that I have been able to open up some one-on-one and two-on-one private workshops because I've always been so busy with weddings and travel, and this is the first year. And that really been taken away.
Amazing.
And there's nothing I can do about that, but I'm excited because that's something that I've had requests for years and years, and I've just never had the time. And so I'm really excited to be able to offer those for 2020.
Amazing.
Ever. And so it's basically like one of my workshops, but it's private. It's targeted to your business goals. It doesn't have to be where I live. It can be where you live or the market that you're trying to reach. I'm planning on doing a couple in Charleston, a couple in California. Mostly, I think in 2020, mostly everything is going to be US based for these. But then 2021, if I can still have the ability to serve a few, then I think Italy and France.
That's amazing. And so we'll post the link for your workshops, but for people who are just listening to the audio, can you let them know where to go to get in touch with you about the one-to-one mentoring or your upcoming workshops?
Yes, please. So you can go to workshops.laurenfairphotography.com. And I didn't even really put an official thing up about them yet, but there's a pop-up box that has, you can sign up to be on our email list so that you can be notified for things like that, or you can just send me a direct email. It's info@laurenfairphotography.com, and I'll be able to send you information directly about one of those. And they're really, really, really fun. I plan a full styled shoot to your brand colors with an amazing team. We spend the full morning and afternoon together just diving into, business topics that are very, very tailored to you and where you want to go. So it's very much a personal experience. Our workshops are small anyway, and they're much more of a grand scale, I would say, because they're a week long. But this is going to be private, tailored to your goals. So I'm really excited for these.
I've never heard of that being offered as well, that you will actually help somebody to set up their first styled shoot, because that can be a big hurdle for somebody who's wanting to start or change their photography brand. That is such a help. So I just think they sound amazing. So I thoroughly recommend getting in touch with Lauren and just making the most of everything that she's offering. Just pick her brains and learn everything you can of her. And thank you so much for coming and joining us, Lauren. You've been so generous with your story and so practical and so helpful. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I hope that if you're listening, that you enjoyed it. And, I'm very, very thankful to have the opportunity to share my story with you. And, I just appreciate it so much. So thank you for listening.
If you enjoyed today's episode, you can find more interviews, tips and inspiration in the Love Light Fine Art community on Facebook. You can also follow along with each new episode on the Love Light YouTube, podcast and Instagram. And don't forget to visit www.sarahjaneethan.co.uk/lovelight for information on training, real-life wedding workshops and online courses to develop your own fine art photography and connect with more of the clients you love.